Hey y'all, let's review factoring. So first we're going to be factoring using the GCF. Alright, so I went ahead and broke up my two terms into their prime factors. You can see these here below. And then when we find the greatest common factor, we need to first identify all of the common factors. So we have a -1, and we have a 2, and then we've got x, another x, another x, and another x. So we multiply these together, so -1 times 2 gives me -2. I have x times x times x times x, that's going to be x to the 4th. So there's my GCF, so I'm going to bring that down out front, and then in parentheses, I can think of this two ways. I can either look back here and look at the ones I haven't used, or I can also think about dividing these by -2x to the 4th. So I could do -10x to the 4th divided by -2x to the 4th, either way. Okay, so if we use the prime factors way, for my first term, there's only a 5 left. I can't do anything else with that. And then with my second term, I have 2 times 2 times 2, and then x. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then that times x is 8x. Now remember, we want to check our work by distributing. So -2 times 5 gives me -10. Then x to the 4th. There's no x here to multiply by, so that just stays x to the 4th. -2x to the 4th times 8x. That gives me -16. And then remember, x to the 4th times x gives me x to the 5th. Now we check to make sure that's what we had at the beginning. Okay, it is, so it works. So this will be our factored answer. Now for the rest of these, I am not going to list out all of the prime factors. You can do that, but eventually you'll get to where you can do it all in your head. So I'm going to kind of talk through that method. If you need to do the prime factors, pause the video and make your list of all the prime factors and then continue on with the video. So for our next one, I'm going to start by looking at my two actual numbers here, so 4 and 2. My greatest common factor, or the greatest number that I can divide out of both, is a 2. Now I look at my x's. I have an x to the 3rd and an x to the 5th. I'm going to look at this x to the 3rd right here. That's the greatest that I can divide out of both. And then I have y and y to the 3rd. Y is the greatest number that I can take out. Okay, so my GCF is 2x to the 3rd y. Now, I can think about dividing both of these by 2x to the 3rd y. So 4x to the 3rd y divided by 2x to the 3rd y. 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. X to the 3rd divided by x to the 3rd cancels. Y divided by y cancels, so it's just 2. Then I take my other term, 2x to the 5th, y to the 3rd, divided by 2, x to the 3rd y. The 2 and the 2 cancel. X to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd. Remember, our exponent rules will be x to the 2nd, so we subtract our exponents. And then y to the 3rd divided by y will be y to the 2nd. And again, we want to check our work by distributing. So we multiply here, so that's 4 x to the 3rd y. And then we distribute over here. So 2 x to the 3rd times x to the 2nd is x to the 5th. Y times y squared is y to the 3rd. We check that against our original problem. They're exactly the same, so we know that this is correct. Okay, same sort of deal. If you feel like you need to list out the prime factors to help you, pause the video, list those out, and get your GCF, and then you can come back to the video. Okay, I'm looking at 45 and 60. Okay, if I think about these two numbers, the largest number that I can possibly divide out of both of these is 15. Now I look at my x's. So I have x squared and x to the third. The smallest of those is x squared, so that's as much as I can factor out. Then I look at my y's. I have y and y squared. The smallest of those is y, so I can factor out a y. So my greatest common factor is 15, x squared, y. So I'm going to bring that out front. Now, 45 x squared y divided by 15 x squared y. 45 divided by 15 is 3. X squared divided by x squared and y divided by y cancel out, so that's just 3. And 60 x to the third y squared divided by 15 x squared y. 60 divided by 15 is 4. X to the third divided by x to the second, we subtract our exponent, so that's x to the first. And y squared divided by y is y. Again, multiply these out to check our work. 15 times 3 gives me 45. We have x squared y. And then 15 times 4 gives me 60. X squared times x is x to the third. And y times y gives me y squared. And that matches our original problem, so we know that we did that correctly. Last one for GCF. All right, so I'm looking at these two numbers. I'm looking at my 90 and my 27. The biggest number that I can divide out of both of these would be a 9. Now I look at my x's. I have x squared and x to the third. The smallest of those is x squared. So my GCF is 9x squared. Now I think about dividing by my GCF. Okay, 90 divided by 9 gives me 10. X squared divided by x squared cancels. 27 divided by 9 gives me 3. X cubed divided by x squared is x to the first. Again, check our work by distributing. 9x squared times 10 gives us 90x squared. 9x squared times 3x is 27x to the third. That's what we started with, so that is correct.